Before I get to playing, I'd just like to say that this pack has been updated. I've added a few mods. If you'd like to see the changes, the changelog is available on the pack page on Curse. Again, you can find the link to the pack in the description, as well as on the Curse launcher. So my quarry and my dimension requires quite a bit of RF per tick, and I'm sort of running out of power at the moment, so I figure the focus of today's video will be creating some sort of renewable source of energy, which we will be supplying through Endergenic generators and ender pearls. I'm gonna need to get some sort of automatic ender pearl generator going, and I figured it's about time we get the Enderman spawners up and running, specifically the Ender.io spawners, which shouldn't be too hard to get together. But there's definitely quite a few steps that will need to be taken before we reach the final product, so may as well get started. I figured it would be a good idea to put a bunch of general use machines down here in this room. May as well make the most use out of it as I can. Okay, awesome. So I was in need of an alloy smelter because I need to craft up some solarium. So that will take quite a bit. Okay, I've got enough solarium, and I'm gonna use this to craft the slice and splice machine, which we will need to create the spawner. That'll do just nicely, and it requires an axe and shears. Okay, nice. So in our slice and splice, if we put some solarium just like that, silicone like that, redstone, and a zombie head, it will begin crafting something. It is a Z-Logic controller, which is one more step closer to our spawner. So I'm here at this skeleton spawner because, for one, I need a skeleton skull, and two, I need the spawner itself. Okay, there's the skull. The next, if we just break this spawner here, you'll see we got a broken spawner. And I'm going to leave this place immediately. The reason I needed this skull is because I'm making a soul binder. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. This is looking pretty nice down here, I think. So the soul binder, we're not going to be using this immediately, but in preparation, we'll go ahead and toss the broken spawner in there. What we need to do is we need to create a soul vial and go capture either an enderman or an ender mini. I think I'm going to get ender minis because, for one, they require less RF per tick when spawning them, and two, they spawn those little pearl shards, which you can craft into ender pearls as well, on top of them dropping ender pearls. So I need to create a soul vial. As you can see here, I've been crafting some energetic alloys, preparing for the future. And I believe 36 nether quartz. Yeah, takes 12 nether quartz to create the fused quartz, which is what is used to craft the soul vial. I'm just gonna steal one of my capacitors from upstairs. Speed up these machines down here. Okay, here's our soul vial. So now we need to go out and capture an ender mini. Okay, I think I see one over yonder. There he is. I believe just right click. Yeah, there we go. We now have an ender mini soul. Let's go back. toss this in the soul binder with the broken spawner. And slowly but surely, that skeleton spawner will get converted into an Endermini spawner. Well, the Endermini version of the broken spawner. So while that's going, we need to create one anvil. That's as good a spot as any. Okay, look at that. We have a broken spawner that contains the soul of an Endermini. So next step, we'll combine some ender pearls with some energetic alloys in the alloy smelter, which yields the vibrant alloys. Craft those into vibrant crystals. And we finally have the powered spawner. So combine these two things in an anvil, and look at that. We have a powered Endermini spawner. It looks like I don't have enough XP, so I'm going to go kill some blazes real quick, and I'll be right back. You know what I totally forgot? Forgot we have all this solidified experience, which I was saving for this exact purpose. So we just go ahead and eat all these. There we go, perfect. Now we should be able to craft this. Look at that, powered Endermini spawner. So believe it or not, there's still a few more things that are needed for this. So first of all, we need the environmental controller. What's cool about this is you can put any of these modules inside of it, and in the area of effect that you specify inside the controller, it will give that effect to whatever passive, hostile, or even yourself. It'll give that effect to whatever you specify. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a no teleport module, because I'm going to be killing the Enderminis with water, and I really want to make sure they don't teleport out of the water as I'm killing them. We'll actually need to grab some blood from an Enderman with a syringe. So actually, I remember that first dimension that I created had a whole bunch of Endermen in it walking around everywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and create that again. And it's very easy. All we have to do is click store, and it will have the same ID as the first dimension that we ever created. So go ahead and build that real quick. And we are dialed in, so let's go. Hopefully there's as many Endermen there this time as there was last time. I see a big herd of them this way. You just punch them with the syringe to grab their blood or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I think we're at 100%, so we can safely leave. Nice. So, gonna deconstruct this dimension immediately. It requires way too much RF per tick. Okay, there we go. No teleport module. Sweet. And then I'm gonna craft up a couple more power cells, as well as power cards. Then Random Things has this thing called an item collector, which is sort of like a long-range hopper. And then I'm actually going to craft the advanced version. I believe that this is everything that we need for this setup. Okay, I'm just going to link my power cell cards to the same ID as these ones, so they're all linked. And just right in the floor here, we'll put our environmental controller and put the no teleport module inside of it, and we'll set the radius to, I guess, 12 is fine. And then the height, we have to take note of what Y level we're on currently. So right now we're on 47, so I'll just say height 47 to 57 should be all right. And then we want to make sure that this only affects hostile mobs. So if I set down one of my power cells here. Put my card in. It says it now requires 18 RF per tick to continue running. And actually, I'm going to reduce this about 47 to 52. That should be fine. Now, I've just grabbed some buckets of water, and I will just set them around in such a way that the ender minis will get pushed into the middle of the room here. Okay, I'm going to say scratch that, and we're just going to create a giant pool of water. As long as the ender minis are in the water, it will be okay. So there we go. That's perfect. And then right above us will be our spawner, the powered spawner. And then actually above that, I will put my power cell. So currently, I believe this is going to require, 160 RF per tick, which is fine. That's perfect. And you can see that the spawner has a radius of 9, or not a radius, but a diameter of 9. So this room is just the perfect size for it. So once that progress bar gets to 100%, it will spawn, I think, 4 ender minis? Oh, 2. Which the spawner can be upgraded with the Ender IO capacitors. But you know what? I may as well put one in there. It'll speed it up a little bit, but I think the RF per tick gets pushed up to 800. Which is fine for now. I am perfectly fine with keeping that running as is because soon we will be upgrading the power. My ears cannot take all the noise of the ender minis dying, so let's go ahead and create a sound muffler. We'll just set this down right on the top here. And it sort of muffles the sound as you would expect. But I'm not done with this yet. I still need to collect the ender pearls, which is why I made this advanced item collector. So eventually we'll be creating another room to set up all the endergenic stuff. So I'm gonna dig underground a bit here. So I'm going to set the chest down right underneath and put the advanced item collector on top, and I'll just set the radius to 10 everywhere. This should now be collecting the ender pearls. Awesome. Looks like we had one ender mini escape. I think I have a way to solve that problem. So if we smelt some sandy glass, we'll get thickened glass, which can then be crafted into dark glass, which will not let any light pass through, which we don't really need that to be a thing, but I just think the dark glass looks pretty cool. So it was definitely a wise decision making the ender mini spawner before we set up the generators, because this setup, which isn't my own design, I admit I stole it from somebody, but I've made a few little tweaks to it. It requires tons of ender pearls, so let's get to crafting. So first of all, we need 4 endergenic generators. And second, we're going to need 8 ender monitors, 5 redstone transmitters, and then I'll just go ahead and make 8 redstone receivers, and then 4 sequencers should be okay. I've made 4 power cells, along with 4 more power cell cards. We've played with this before, but this is the RF monitor. Then a logic gate will come into play for sure. And then I almost forgot the most important part of everything, the pearl injector. So I'm going to start setting these things up, and I will explain things a little bit while I'm building, but just know that after I'm finished, I will attempt to explain everything in a lot better detail. So stick around till the end of the build, and hopefully you'll get a better understanding there. Also keep in mind that this is not my design. This design was recommended and built by the developer himself, MCJD, and I've made a few tweaks to the design myself, but all in all, this is his design, so just know that. We want to set everything 2 blocks away from each other. So I'm going to set my power cells just in the ground like this, set all of them to input, and put my already linked cards in them. These are what are going to be pulling power from our Endergenic generators. And then we just go ahead and set all the generators right on top of the cells. And then what you want to do is you want to link each Endergenic generator together. If you right click on one, you'll see what it's linked to. So what happens is every time a pearl is fired, we want the generator that just fired the pearl to say, hey, I just fired that pearl, and tell the generator behind it that it needs to start charging the power that it has stored from that pearl. So we can set up our Ender monitors just like this. With redstone going to each. Well, first of all, I want to make sure whatever I put redstone on is not in ore. So we can just put redstone in a circle like this, and make sure these are set to send a redstone signal when a pearl has just been fired. Okay, next, I'm going to set up kind of a wall just to set my transmitters and receivers on. So I'll set up Ender monitors above these just like so. Now what these Ender monitors are going to be doing is saying that when a pearl has arrived at this generator, send a signal back into the generator and fire the pearl to the next generator. So immediately when it receives that pearl, we want it to stay in the generator as short a time as possible because that's what makes these generate the most RF. So what we can do is we can set up our redstone transmitters just above these like so. And then link receiver to one of these and have that signal going straight back into the same generator. Okay, that's perfect. We can remove these now. So next, we need to actually inject the pearls into the system. And the way that I'm going to do that is with the pearl injector. So I'll set up my injector here, and this will inject a pearl into this little system when it receives a redstone signal. So what I'll do is I want to set a sequencer here because we want to make sure that these generators are in charging mode before we inject a pearl into the system. So I'll set this to the 7th tick. Again, it's fine to be confused. It really doesn't make much sense to me even still, but we'll get there. We'll set this to once too. When a redstone signal is received, it will loop and restart if it receives another signal. Let's go ahead and set a transmitter up right over here against this wall. And then we'll link every single receiver to this transmitter. Set this here, connected to the pearl injector. And then we want to put another receiver connected to this Endergenic generator. Then another one connected to this generator. But we want to make sure that we add a sequencer here and set this one to the 3rd tick. So what'll happen here is when we give a redstone signal to this transmitter, it'll say, take this generator out of idle, put this one, or take this generator out of idle, put it in charging mode, and then a few ticks later, put this one in charging mode. Because the generators benefit the further along the charging tick cycle. It just generates more power that way. What I am going to do is we made this RF monitor. So I can just set it down like that and say, monitor this power cell and say, when we've got less than about 95% power, send a redstone signal. So this is where the logic gate's gonna come in handy. First of all, Let me set down a sequencer here and set this to, I believe it's loop 4. We'll set this to a 2-tick pulse. What happens is, when it receives a redstone signal, it will loop, and it will restart completely when there is no signal. And then when it receives a redstone signal after that, it will loop again. So what I can do now is I can set down the logic gate. We'll actually link a redstone receiver to any one of these transmitters here. And then I'll just set it down right here and then make a sequencer going into this logic gate. But we want to extend that pulse to something like that. And we'll set it to once too, that should be fine. I'm actually going to create one more receiver and one more transmitter because the way my room is cramped here, I have to kind of leave everything super compact, so. RF monitor just like that once again. Well, we need to make sure it's the right direction. Set that to detect when the power is less than 95%, and then I'll put a transmitter there, link the receiver, and just attach it directly to this logic gate. Okay, learn from my mistakes. Make sure you set these Ender monitors on top of the Endergenic generators to Pearl Arrived. It's the thing that I forgot to do. So now we should be good. Toss some pearls in there. You'll see it's kind of going in a big old circle there. And when a pearl is lost, it starts up right back again. And we're pretty much wasting power right now, but you know what? I've got a surplus of ender pearls now, so that's good. So I'm going to set this back to less than. So what will happen now is when we're less than 95% full in our cells, start generating more power. And look at that, this pearl, that one pearl is still going around. And what's happening here is, what I'm talking about is every once in a while a pearl that is going in the system around and around will eventually get lost. No matter what, eventually it will get lost, just like it did just then. And this is cool. It generates about 6,000 RF per tick with this setup at least. So next what we'll do is we will create an RF tools crafter. And I'll show you why here in a second. And then some more item conduits will come in handy as well. One more ender chest. And I have this little hole down here. And I'm going to set my crafter right underneath my power cell here. Power running into it. What we can do here is I can tell this that with these little ender fragments here, go ahead and just craft those into ender pearls. Just like that. And then we hit apply. And what we can do is we'll set up an item conduit just like this. Tell this to inserts and set that to a high priority and whitelist these ender fragments here. I put those in here and set this to always active. They're now getting extracted and crafted into ender pearls, which we can then extract again. And then from that conduit line there, we'll just run everything all the way down here. Okay, I ran out of conduits, but we're good now. And then set that to insert. So that will be the last priority for the pearls. All the fragments go in here, and then all the crafted pearls go into the pearl injector. And this is where the ender chest will come in handy. We'll just set this off to the side like here. Set that to insert, but make that the very last priority. So when the pearl injector is all filled, just start inserting pearls into our storage system. So that is actually completely and totally automated RF generation with ender pearls. So now I can finally go back into my RF tools dimension and set my quarry up once again. maybe even expand it a little bit. And this time we can set the tick delay to something a little bit higher than it was before. It looks like it's keeping up, and this is set to 1 tick delay. Look at that, it's keeping up just fine. I think the only limitation here is that the power cell can't output more than 5k RF per tick. And it's currently using some of that for a lot of things. But we can totally keep this thing running full speed without having to worry about power now. Well, at least running out of our non-renewable power. Oh, another problem is chest space. So I'm gonna have to slow this down no matter what. Something that I suggest to everybody is setting up just a general use power cell somewhere in your base so that you can easily charge up your things. Because I find myself having to run all the way somewhere else to charge up my charged porter. And you know what? There's something that's actually just now that I thought of that I'd like to make. So in the soul binder, we use the Enderman head, silicone, vibrant alloy, and solarium. Just toss that in there for now, speed it up a bit. Then we get an ender resonator. With some electric steel, we get a wireless charger. So I'm just gonna set this somewhere back here. What'll happen is, whenever we're in the area, that wireless charger will charge all of our items on us that require RF. So if I take my battery out, you'll see it's charging my battery just from me not doing anything. I'm just walking around and my battery is getting charged. So that's very cool. I'm gonna make 1 octadic capacitor for my spawner. I want to speed it up a little bit more. This may be a little bit too fast. I'll leave that going like that for a while and see what happens. Looks to be perfectly fine, actually. So now that we have everything built and we know that everything is working perfectly, I will attempt to explain this in better detail. So first off, the Endergenic generators have 4 modes. Idle mode, which is the mode that it is set in when it's doing absolutely nothing. Charging mode, which happens when it's given a redstone signal while it's in idle mode. Holding mode, which is what happens when the generator is actually holding a pearl. And then there's pearl fired mode, which when given a redstone signal, when the generator is in holding mode, that's when the pearl fired mode happens. So what's happening here is we have this generator going to that one, that one to that one, that one to that one, and then all in a big old circle here. So the first thing I should mention here is that charging mode lasts for 10 ticks, and that is the mode that actually generates the RF. We want to make sure that that mode lasts for as long as possible. So the way that we're doing that is from this generator to that generator lasts 2 ticks. When a pearl is injected into this generator, and it knows that a pearl arrives, then it sends a signal back into this generator itself. It fires the pearl, and that takes 1 tick. So from this generator to this generator is technically 3 ticks. So 3 ticks, 3 ticks, 3 ticks, that's 9 ticks. So the maximum amount of time that we can stay in charging mode at the last generator that was set in charging mode is 9 ticks. So, you know, that's fine. What's happening here is the generator that last fires a pearl sends a redstone signal to the generator behind it, which sets that generator into charging mode. So this whole process is just going in a big old circle here, around and around. But now I will try to explain how I've automated this process, depending on how much power I have in my energy cells. So again, I've got an RF monitor under here connected to our multi-block of energy cells, set to emit a redstone signal when the power is less than 80%. And I have that going into a redstone transmitter here. That redstone transmitter is linked to this receiver here. And then also, I have this redstone receiver linked to this redstone transmitter, which receives a pulse when a pearl arrives at this generator. So this will receive a pulse every, I think, 12 ticks. So what we want to do is I'm making sure that when that short pulse is received here, it's going into this sequencer and lengthening that signal. So we make sure we get a nice and long signal here. So this logic gate here, I have it set to the A side, saying that when it receives a redstone signal, and when the B side doesn't have a redstone signal, emit a redstone signal. So when this is not going, when this is not already in the process of creating power, and when the power is less than 80%, you are allowed to send a tiny little pulse to this transmitter, which is linked to all of these receivers. That receiver, this one, and this one. Okay, so starting here, that's a pretty short pulse. It's a 2-tick redstone pulse. So I have that going into a sequencer here, which is set to the 7th tick. And then this one is set to just pulse immediately. And then this one is set to the 4th tick. I'm not sure if that's completely optimal, but it's working for me. See, right now this isn't running. If this transmitter was to receive a signal, it would first send a signal to this generator, which will put it into charging mode, and then after 4 ticks, it will go into this generator, which will put it in charging mode. And then after 7 ticks, fire that pearl into this generator, and then immediately when that's received, fire the pearl the next tick, and then that will then set this into charging mode. So the reason we don't put another receiver onto this one is because it's completely automated here. We already know that this is going to be in charging mode no matter what, the moment a pearl arrives here, or the moment the pearl is fired, rather. Hopefully that was a concise and comprehensive explanation of Endergenic generators. I still don't quite understand them completely myself, but I've done my best here and I've got it to work at least, so I think really that's all that matters in my book. So you see here, we have all these ores coming in all the time, but I'm not really processing them at the moment. I really wish I could get into that in this video, but I think that's gonna have to be separated into another video. So next time we'll get into the ore processing, but thank you so much for watching once again. I really appreciate all the support and all the likes and the comments and all that. It really makes me happy replying to the comments, and if you've seen, I pretty much reply to every single comment, so if you'd like to say anything about the video, please let me know if you liked it, if you didn't like it. But anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.